Hermaeus Mora is the Daedric prince of knowledge. So in that way, maybe he is a little bit like the Christian God in the sense of being the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the wellspring of all truth, perhaps. The keeper of secret knowledge in the Elder Scrolls universe. Anyway, I was questing and I encountered a character. I believe he was a priest of Hermaeus Mora. And he said, worship implies the subject of one's devotion desires adulation. Hermaeus Mora is beyond such vanities. I give him my respect, not my prayers. If one wishes to uncover the secrets of the plains, it is merely prudent. And I was reminded of a scene that I really love out of Anne of Green Gables, the movie, where the young Anne is instructed on how to pray. And she says, if I really wanted to pray, I think I would go out into a vast open field under the canopy of the sky, and I would close my eyes and I would just feel prayer. And I know, just comparing, maybe theology to a video game trope is a kind of a peculiar thing, but it does sort of bleed across, doesn't it? The Daedric Prince of Knowledge being a rather godlike figure, the sum of all truth, does not desire adulation. He does not desire worship, because truth simply is. It doesn't need its subjects to validate it any more than the light needs to be acknowledged in order to exist. So if we worship God, the sum of all that is or ever was or ever will be, maybe it isn't so much about adoration. It isn't so much about paying tribute because God demands tribute. Rather, it is about respect. It's about honor. Because when we live our lives in a way which is true and honorable and in keeping with the laws of nature, in harmony instead of in opposition to those laws, then we can honor God with our actions, not with our words. There's a Bible verse that says we should not want to be seen of men doing alms or praying, but rather we should do those things in privacy, in the closet. Because the pursuit of truth isn't a public thing. It's not about finding a way to get credit for honoring or paying tribute to God. It's about just acknowledging that we are part of something greater than ourselves. Perhaps seeking that forbidden knowledge so that we can be more enriched as a result. But not to get brownie points with God by getting down on our knees and begging or being prostrate or something like that. To give God respect and not prayer. I was listening to a sermon the other day about marriage, and the pastor was talking about how important it is to honor your wife if you're a husband. And he was citing a Bible verse that talks about living together And he said, there's this instruction in the Bible about how spouses should treat each other. And it closes out by just saying that they should focus on living together. And it's not really about just sharing the same space. It's about being truly in harmony and truly sharing all aspects of life, not just in a physical way, but in a spiritual way. And that's true whether you're talking about service to another person like your spouse, or maybe service to God if you are a person of faith, or even if you're not really a person of faith and you're more maybe like me, an agnostic who appreciates the symbolism of faith but isn't an actively religious person. We're all on a quest to seek knowledge that we don't have, but not to be the masters of that knowledge, just to honor it, to pay tribute to it with our lives, with our actions, with our thoughts, to be at peace and to live our lives in harmony with that understanding that there is a higher truth, a truth which is indeed so much higher than our own understanding, that all of the scientific pursuits that we've ever done, all of our understanding, it all pales in comparison with the absolute, unfathomable extent of true wisdom, of absolute truth. You see, we're all just humble creatures in the shadow of the Almighty. And so, like that character in the video game said, if one wishes to uncover the secrets of the plains, it is merely prudent. It is prudent to seek higher truths. It is prudent to live our lives in accordance with the laws which govern the universe instead of raging against them. It's not a mandate, it's not an order that we do certain things. It's just, we shouldn't kick against the pricks. We shouldn't try to force destiny to be what it isn't. It's like a November day here in Montana. It always strikes me how the summer drags on, and then the summer fades away into winter. But it often does so suddenly, not without hints. Certainly you can see and feel that the seasons are dramatically changing. But there's still warm days. And if you didn't know any better, it could be early November. Halloween is over, and it's a warm, comfortable day outside, and you're out there wearing a short-sleeved shirt, enjoying what feels like a late summer day. And you would think, wow, it's already November and it's not even cold outside. You could lie to yourself. But the truth is, winter is at the doorstep. It's here. And a couple of weeks later, there's going to be that cold snap or maybe a snowstorm. You're going to be facing that weather where it's not safe to go outside without putting some kind of gloves on your hands to keep them from freezing. And then it's going to be unavoidably winter. But there are those points in life when we can put blinders on. We can not honor the truth by knowing it fully. We can hide from it by not acknowledging it. Sort of like when I was in debt and I didn't pay my bills very well, and then I didn't really want to check the mail because I knew there might be something I didn't want to see in there. You can do that for a while, until one day you don't pay your bills because you're not competent or something, and then the lights get turned off, and then you probably wish you would have just dealt with it on the front side. But life is filled with things where we can live our life in a way that honors the truth, which seeks to uncover the truth in the way we live, or we can live our lives in opposition to the truth, hiding from it. We can live our lives to worship something greater than ourselves, too. And there's a lot of people who worship things. They worship material success, or they worship a symbol of God, which is special to them. But many times people find it easier to worship an idol, a symbol of a thing, a picture of God, when God never sought that we worship him on our knees, but rather, if there is a God which is conscious and able to direct our paths, he or it, however you choose to approximate the character of God, would probably guide us not to worship with our bodies in contrition, but to worship with our hearts in action. Don't love God by doing things that you think are holy. Rather, love God by serving others as a mortal human being. Love with action. Love quietly and privately and without seeking any attention. Because if God is truth, then God does not need us to validate his existence. It is us who need to direct our paths by the spirit of wisdom. That's a personal journey. And so I think it's interesting to think about how when you say serve God, in a way, the temptation would be to think that serving God is about doing what God as a third party wants you to do. But if there were an all-powerful, benevolent God that has everything God could ever need, then God would have no need for our worship to make him more complete. So if it is us who need to worship, it is not a deity that needs our worship, then it stands to reason that we should focus less on the external and more on the internal. Life is filled with allegories, I think, which are not truth in and of themselves, but they are reflections of truth. Whether it's lore in a video game, or time spent reading the Bible, or a self-help book or something, there's a lot of things in life all around us that could be maybe guideposts that would help us to find symbols of that which there is no word for. Because the true infinite, the true all-encompassing whole that we are part of is so vast, so mysterious. We can't begin to comprehend it. But maybe through all of our stories and all of our familiar mythologies, we can find a way to remind ourselves of what it is we're trying to serve, even if we can't properly envisage it. That's one reason why I think it's so important to take a few steps away from all of the things that we pursue in life that don't really fall into the category of imagination, you know, like career progression, or trying to immerse yourself in consumerism, always buying something, always doing something, always having something on your calendar. To embrace that spirit of wandering, that spirit of passive contemplation, asking questions that don't need to be asked and contemplating what their answers might be. Those sorts of things, they add value to our lives, because if we are not able to contemplate truth and meditate on those things, then what is life? You know, there's that quote, if I am for myself only, then what am I? And if not now, when? We need to have space in our life to just have a conference hour with ourselves, to ask the question of how we should interpret truth and the pursuit of it, and our own individual quest for meaning. And if there is a God out there, I don't think that God is hoping for us to reach a specific conclusion. I think it's just there, giving us breadcrumbs so that we can maybe get closer to finding our own answers. God is like light, and the sun comes up every day, and it never rises and says, I will shine, but only if others acknowledge my light. It simply is. And there is no great war between light and darkness. There is only some places where the light shines and some places which are in shadow. And neither of them are good or bad intrinsically. They just are. When we get more into a place in our lives where we accept that life is just what it is, and it's not good or bad, it's not complete or broken, it's not two camps where some people are noble and some people are sinners. It's just a great open world sandbox where we can explore and ask questions, and maybe we're part of some cosmic computer where if everyone asks their own questions, eventually every question that could ever be asked is asked, and every idea that could ever be conceived is conceived. And so, as Carl Sagan said it best, we are a way for the universe to know itself. Wherever you find yourself, try to find peace and accept the place where you are in your journey without expecting that it should be anything more. Remember to be gentle with yourself, because I would like to believe that God is not a God of wrath and judgment, but rather just an open door which allows us to find truth in our own way, at our own pace, in a way that resonates with us as individuals. Till next time, best wishes and happy adventuring.